When you like, and obviously this committee, like all committees, will encourage openness and transparency. And please note that the meeting is now in recording. We're now in session, so to speak. Now, Andrew, going on to the first item, declarations of interest. I notice that Councillor Cameron's posted an item, a declaration of interest.
It's Councillor Curran, convener.
Councillor Curran, my apologies, but I understand Councillor Cameron has got items to note as well. Councillor Cameron.
Yeah, I'm going to declare on item 6 as a member of the Business Gateway Board.
Thank you, noted.
And convener, I'll still need to ask Councillor Curran to make his declaration to the committee, just for the purposes of people watching.
Okay. Andrew, could you also note my declaration of interest for item 5, fusion assets, and although the report's there for noting, and item 6, I will vacate the chair and it will be taken by my right honourable friend, Councillor Carson. Do we have any apologies?
Yeah, sorry, can I declare an interest, Andrew, too, on agenda item 5 on fusion assets, being a director of fusion assets? It's actually for noting, so I don't know if I can just sit through or whether you want to put me in the lobby.
It's entirely for you, Councillor. If you feel that it's sufficiently remote that you can still participate, then
yeah, if it's only for noting, I'm quite happy to sit through it. Yeah, thank you.
Right, we welcome you to sit through it. Essentially, when it's just for noting, Sandy, as you've intimated there.
Right, thanks.
Alan, I think Councillor Damasio is looking to make a declaration, and also Councillor Curran needs to say his declaration, I think Andrew said.
Paul, do you want to make your declaration of interest, please?
Indeed. Agenda item 6 is a tenant and a contractor.
Noted. And Councillor Curran is yours.
I think I noticed Councillor Curran left the meeting. I don't know if he's had a connection problem.
He's now resumed.
Oh, so there you are. I can see you now.
Right, excellent. Thank you.
If you could just state your declaration, please, Councillor Curran. I know you've put it in the chat bar, but if you could just state it for the record, please.
Harry, you're still in mute. Harry, you're on mute.
Unfortunately, officers no longer have the power to unmute members. WebEx has changed the system, so I can't unmute you, I'm afraid, Councillor Curran.
Yeah, Councillor Curran
Heather, could I hear you again, please? Could you repeat that, please?
I'm just saying that Councillor Curran has intimated by virtue of the chat that he's got a declaration of interest at agenda items 3 and 4 by virtue of the fact that he's chair of Routes to Work, if this assists the record.
Thank you. Noted. Andrew, you got that?
I have, that's fine, thank you.
Excellent. Right, we're going to proceed with business now. Andrew, do we have any apologies?
Yes, convener, I have apologies from Councillors Danish Ashraf, Councillor Feeney and Councillor Larson.
Does anyone else know of any other apologies? No, right. Before we get down to business proper, I would like to thank the Leader of the Council for writing to the Chancellor. If you've heard, he's extended the furlough scheme today, and I'm sure that made all the difference. And I'm sure everybody welcomes that news in line with the other developments across the pond. However, moving on swiftly to item 2. David Greer, understand you're going to be leading this. Is David with us?
No, Councillor Graham, I'm going to just introduce the report.
Would you like to take us through the salient points, please, at your leisure?
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, this report is providing an update to members regarding progress with the delivery of the Economic Regeneration Delivery Plan, which members will recall was approved last August, seems a very long time ago now, an associated action plan. So it's proposed, we're currently reviewing the action plan that was approved with a view to bringing an update on the action plan to cycle 1 to the next cycle, which will also be along with our Economic Recovery Plan action plan, so the two will align. So the purpose of this report really is to give an update, particularly around two areas, the town centre, regeneration, and also the activity around business and industry, and how we're going to improve the infrastructure and improve opportunities for inward investment in North Lanarkshire. First of all, in terms of the town visions, in terms of town centres, again, members will be aware that these were, the draft visions were approved at Policy and Strategy on the 19th of March. Obviously, the intention thereafter was to do stakeholder engagement and to do public engagement. That's still the intention, but clearly how we do that has had to change in terms of using more virtual platforms to do that. So that is underway at the moment in terms of stakeholder engagement through different forums and different methods. And the intention is that will take place over the coming months with a view to finalising the visions to bring back to a future Policy and Strategy Committee next year. So that work's underway. At the same time as the overall long-term visions have been progressed, there's also a lot of activity progressing around individual town centres and town centre projects, and the details of some of those projects is set out in Appendix 1 for members' interest. Also, just to highlight that in terms of additional funding, there was additional town centre funding awarded, £1.168 million, and again that will be allocated to projects that were in pipeline to make sure that we can achieve the requirements, which is to spend by the end of the financial year, or to have committed by legally committed by the end of the financial year. Moving on, in terms of the business and industry, again, there's been ongoing activity, a lot of activity to improve the opportunities that we have in North Lanarkshire for businesses to invest in, and that includes a number of projects that has been delivered through our arm's length company Fusion Assets, and probably see more of that later in the agenda. And a number of these projects obviously supported through the Council's Vacant and Derelict Land Fund allocation, and they're out at section 2.3.2 of the report. We also highlight that we were successful in securing additional £1.74 million from the Regeneration Capital Grant Fund, and again that's been invested in developing new business spaces at the Orbiston industrial estate, and that works on site at the moment and progressing. And we've got other bids that are being developed at the moment for the RCGF fund. So the other area to note, and again this has been reported previously to committee, was that we were successful in getting £290,000 of funding for the Advancing Manufacturing Challenge Fund, and that's to develop a manufacturing innovation hub and robotics training centre at Motherwell College campus. So again, that work is underway now. So between David and I, we'd be happy to take any further questions.
Colleagues, does anyone have any questions?
Convener, Councillor Curran has indicated he wishes to come in, followed by Councillors Cameron and Damasio.
Councillor Curran.
Sorry, Chair. I was trying to get in to declare the interest at the start of the meeting, and I was in twice, so I had to come back out and go back in again. So this is me formally declaring interest for items 3 and 4 as Chair of Routes to Work. So
noted.
And obviously I'll come out the meeting, or I don't know what to do. Do they knock me out the meeting at 3 and 4 or whatever?
Councillor Curran, I can put you into the lobby, and if you just do nothing, and I'll bring you back in afterwards.
Thank you. Councillor Cameron.
Yes, thank you. It's not really a question, it's just a point of clarification for the record. I'm given to understand when you're talking about the Orbiston industrial estate, the units at Orbiston, you're actually talking about Orbiston Road, Motherwell, not the Orbiston area in Bells Hill. It's just for the record because there's multiple Orbistons in North Lanarkshire, and as this is getting recorded and put out to the public, it might be for a point of clarification, just to clarify.
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, it's Orbiston in Motherwell.
Happy to provide a clarification, Colin. Paul, I understand you the question.
Yeah, I've got two questions if you're taking them both at the one time.
We will.
Smashing. In relation to the town centre vision, community engagement refers to a three-stage process. I just asked the officers, Pamela, there's more detail the engagement process there. And the other point was in relation to the town centre, the additional 1.168 million we've received from the town centre grant fund. Where are we intending to of projects in the pipeline which haven't been allocated funding yet? Which project or projects are we likely to utilise that extra funding for?
Well, I'll just answer both of them, Pam. So in terms of the first one, it's a three-stage process. So first of all, we're kind of engaging with the kind of key stakeholders from the public and private sector. So that includes our kind of statutory consultees, heritage agencies and so forth. And it also includes the private sector in terms of developers, businesses out there and so forth, and like the kind of main ones such as the shopping centre owners, for example. So that's already been undertaken. So we've already held two consultation events, one with the public sector and one with the private sector. Our next stage is really to go out to the kind of community representatives. So we'll be looking to the community boards about taking presentations to them, but also at a lower level around tenant associations, housing associations and so forth. At the same time, we also have our consultants working on a virtual consultation room. So instead of going into your community centres and so forth, you'll basically be able to go into your own town centre virtual consultation room, and there'll be an opportunity to provide feedback in that. It is hoping that we can eventually go into the actual town centres itself and actually do that kind of physical consultation, but obviously we're limited right now in terms of the restrictions. And the idea is that we were hoping to bring the town visions back following those consultations and updates to Policy and Strategy Committee next June. So that's the target date that we have for that. And again, it has slipped slightly, but that's really because we've had to change the whole process in terms of consultation. In relation to the additional town centre fund monies, again, one of the key issues was we either had to have it contractually committed or spent by the 31st of March. So again, the turnaround on that is very, very fast, for town centre projects. So our main focus on that has been looking for the strategic acquisition of Motherwell Old Town Hall, and looking to take forward that as a residential development. The other two projects that we have in there as well is the Muirfield Centre. So again, there's been an issue in the Muirfield Centre in relation to the heating system on the commercial floors. So again, we're looking to invest in an air conditioning system for that. And then last but not least, at the end of last financial year, we purchased the former YMCA building in Motherwell. And there's a small retail unit that kind of forms part of the ground floor and is used as a gym. So we're trying to progress the acquisition of that to basically consolidate that site.
Paul, does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you for that. Could I just ask a quick supplementary in terms of the
by all means?
Okay, the virtual consultation room, is it intended that will be open to the public?
Yes, it'll be fully open, so it'll be hosted in the council's website, and you'll just be able to actually go in, see the visions, see the kind of plans and the policy, the threats behind it, and then be able to feed back their comments on it.
Thank you.
Paul, you can rest assured we'll be totally transparent in the process. We've got to get this right.
Okay.
Does anybody else get any other questions, colleagues? No? Happy to move on and accept. Let's go. That brings us on to item 3. Understand, Paul, you'll be going through the salient points there.
Yes, thanks, convener. Hello, everyone. So this report gives more information to members on the employability response, which is part of the COVID-19 economic recovery plan of the council. And it really has 3 parts. The first part is our existing position, our existing resources, and what we're doing with those to try and meet the challenge that is described in the labour market information in the report, namely the massive increase in the claimant count, particularly among 16 to 24-year-olds. The second part of the report at 2.4 outlines new initiatives which are coming down the line, which should give us extra resources to meet that challenge in North Lanarkshire, particularly among 16 to 24-year-olds. One is the Kickstart programme, which is funded by the Department of Work and Pensions, and the other is the Scottish Youth Guarantee, which is funded by the Scottish Government, with, we expect, around £2 million coming to North Lanarkshire from that to tackle youth unemployment or find ways to keep young people, 16 to 24-year-olds, engaged in the labour market until an economic recovery gets traction. Lastly, the report at 2.6 outlines some steps we've taken to make sure that we align the funding, the new funding we're getting, with the request of the Scottish Government that we involve partners, as well as with the plan for North Lanarkshire. So we've established a local employability group, which is led by the council, and with partners such as Developing Young Workforce, New College Lanarkshire, colleagues from the Community Learning and Development team, who'll be really important in this, and DWP as well. And I'm happy to take any questions. And I'm sorry about the hesitation there. I think the next guy just...
No problem, Paul. Does anyone have any questions, colleagues? Any questions at all? None? Let's move on, Paul. Thank you for that. I believe you're on stage again, Paul.
Yes, thanks, convener. The next report is the performance report on routes to work. Members may remember that there was one presented at the last committee meeting. That's a regular monitoring report that is done for all arm's length organisations of the council to the parent committee. And the last one for routes to work outlined their performance, but omitted to include their financial performance. And this is getting over that omission. So the financial performance of routes to work is included in annexes 1 to 5 in this report. And that's really all it was supposed to cover. But I thought I would highlight some of the service delivery highlights that routes to work have had in the last 7 or 8 months, just to bring those to committee's attention as well. At 2.2, routes to work seconded a number of staff to the council during the lockdown period to help with the community assistance helpline, which proved really, really helpful. And we've also, with them, had quite a bit of success in the recruitment at Honeywell, where they're going to start making PPE, and the council's own 1140 childcare programme, where we've managed to get quite a number of unemployed residents into work through that. As I said before, the rest of the report is really focusing on the financial performance of routes to work for committee. It doesn't flag up any serious issues and gives them a clean bill of health in terms of an arm's length company, well governed and owned by the council. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Paul. Colleagues, does anyone have any questions? None at all? Silence is gold. Happy to accept. Thank you, Paul.
Alan, Paul, Councillor Damasio. Sorry, Andrew, I think I butted in, but Councillor Damasio's just come in looking for a question.
Paul, the floor's yours, as I say, or the television screen's yours.
Just a very brief comment. I just wanted to thank the officers and the staff to work for all the great work that we're doing, that they're doing currently, particularly in these difficult times.
All your comments are most welcome. All our staff in that particular sphere are doing excellent work. in very challenging times, very, very challenging times. Thank you, colleagues. Paul, thank you for an excellent summary of the key points. That brings us on to item 5.
Convener, Councillor Hume he's contacted me privately, but I think he meant to send it for everyone in the chat bar to say he wants to come in.
Jim, the floor's yours.
Sorry, Andrew, I did. I want to find out more information about the quality and cost criteria and the assessment thereof. And Appendix 2, 80% quality and 20% cost. I'd like more information on that. I don't know if anyone else would, but perhaps someone could tell me who I could contact to get that. Would it be Yvonne Weir?
I don't think this is on my report, is it?
Sorry. Okay. What did you just do there?
We're currently on item 4, Councillor Hume.
I've got that as routes to work, is it not?
Yeah.
Jim, what item are you on?
I thought it was 4.
Well, if we're in a position to respond just now, we will. If not, we'll get the information for you. You happy with that?
Yes, that's fine.
I'll give you that assurance, Jim.
Apologise if I got it wrong. Look,
apology accepted.
Working from home, the brain cells are dying rapidly.
Yes, and I think we can all share in that sentiment completely. I'll move on now, colleagues, to item 5. Pamela, are you taking us through that? I mean, essentially here for noting, but is there any salient points you want to bring to the committee's attention?
I think David was going to speak to this report.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to speak, and I think Councillor Hume's comment might relate to agenda item 6 rather than 4, and to the business gateway instead of routes to work. So in terms of Fusion assets, so this is items for noting, and it basically covers the operational performance of the first 6 months of Fusion assets during this financial year, and the financial performance primarily for 2019-20. So just in terms of financial performance, over 1920, it's anticipated that there will be a surplus of just over £500,000, and that primarily arising from the sale of Western Campus in Strathclyde Business Park. In terms of the asset to liabilities ratio, it sits right now at 1.96, which basically means that in terms of finances, the company is in a really healthy condition. In regards to the assets shown in 2.26, there's currently overall a net surplus of 3.9 million, and this includes 2.7 million of cash at the bank, as well as land and net liabilities. So in terms of operational performance, there's absolutely no issues in regards to, and they're shown in the appendices. So again, the company looks to be on target to hit those targets. In terms of the kind of overall performance highlights, I think one of the kind of key things to highlight is the company has not really been affected by COVID as such. So it's lost one tenant at Link Park in Newhouse Industrial Estate, and it's already replaced that tenant, and therefore, again, it's doing quite well. In terms of achievements as well, it's also just let its 18,000 square foot first unit at Garcosh Business Park. So it's now going to progress with the next two developments, which is another 42,000 square foot of industrial space. And again, the finance is already in place to take that forward. The other kind of key things to highlight is we have just allocated a further £0.8 million to Fusion assets, and that's to cover 2 projects. That's to purchase the next phase of development at Garcosh Business Park, since the first phase is going so well, and it's also to look at some feasibility works at Ravenscraig, and that ties into other investment we've made through Ravenscraig Limited in terms of looking at the business side there. And again, happy to take any questions.
Colleagues, does anyone get any questions, or are you just happy to note the report as recommended? I assume silence is golden. Thank you, David, for a good summary, an excellent summary. Can we move on to item 6? Andrew, I will now vacate the premises, so to speak, and Councillor Carson will take the chair for this item. And anyone else associated with Business Gateway, I'm sure will do likewise.
Andrew, are you putting Alan and Councillor Cameron out, or are they?
Yes, I'm just going to...
That's fine. I'll just wait until they're out.
So the list I have is not in alphabetical order, so it makes it difficult.
Harder to find them.
And Councillor Damasio as well. Okay, that's those
Okay.
make way.
Andrew, I'm still in.
Oh, Councillor Cameron,
you've you've not put me out yet.
Sorry, Councillor Cameron, I missed you. I'll do that now. There we go.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Okay, so we're on agenda item 6, everyone. Yvonne, are you taking us through this?
I am Councillor Carson, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. The report relates to the contract award for Lanarkshire Business Gateway Services. North Lanarkshire Council is responsible for the delivery of the Business Gateway service in Lanarkshire on behalf of both North and South Lanarkshire Councils. The current contract ends on the 28th of February 2021, and the new contract is to a value of 5.6 million with a £1 million contingency fund. It will run from the 1st of March 2021 for a 2-year period, with the option to extend for 2 further 1-year periods. An open procurement procedure has been undertaken. There were 3 tenders submitted, 2 of which were compliant tenders. The tender submitted by Enterprise North East Trust Limited, trading as Elevator, has been evaluated as the most economically advantageous tender for this contract, and committee is asked to approve the award of the contract to Enterprise North East Trust Limited. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thanks very much, Yvonne. Councillor Hume, first.
Thanks. I believe this is the right item to come in on. And the question's the same, it's just the right item. My question is based on using Business Gateway services a number of years ago and finding it informative and useful. So that my question still relates to Appendix 2, where the 2 valid people that tendered were assessed on a 80% quality, 20% price grading, and the Elevator one came out on top. I would certainly like a bit more detail on the assessment that was made to come to those figures. By the way, I'm happy to sign the report off in this session. Then the extra information I'm looking for is for my benefit to understand how the process works.
Okay, no worries, Councillor Hume. Yvonne, are you able to answer that right now, or do you want to send it to Councillor Hume after the committee?
I could certainly answer it now, or send it afterwards in terms of, what the scoring criteria were. But
if you can just say it now for the benefit of the committee, and then if Councillor Hume requires anything else, then you can get in touch.
Okay, bear with me 1 second. So yes, we've scored it on a 20/80 price ratio. In terms of the 80%, what was scored was the method statement of how the services would be delivered. We also looked at delivery of service requirements, performance, contract quality and financial management, impact of service and innovation, enterprise culture, working in partnership, referrals and signposting, looked at proactive engagement and marketing, fair working practices and community benefits. So the 80% was made up of a mixture of scores from those, and I hope that answers the question in full.
Thanks, Yvonne. Councillor Hume, I hope that answers it for you.
Well, it doesn't give me enough detail.
Okay.
By the way, there's absolutely no criticism in the process here. It's information for myself, but I need the detail that Yvonne spoke about there. So
okay, Councillor Hume,
I'll get it offline.
Yeah, if you get in touch with Yvonne, see what you're looking for. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Councillor Carricker, have you got a question?
Yeah, thanks. So this contract's obviously it's up for renewal. Did the original contractor tender for it? Are they one of the tenderers?
They were, Councillor Carrigan, yes. So the current contractor is Lanarkshire Enterprise Services Limited.
And recommending awarding it to another contractor.
That's correct, yes.
Can I ask further about that on here? Am I able to do that?
Councillor Carragher, if you ask your question and then if everyone can't answer it, then just now she can always come back to you after the committee.
Basically, it's just obviously a contractor's had this award and we're now awarding it to somebody else. So I'm assuming we do have reasons for that. It's maybe touching on what Jim was asking earlier.
Yes, you know, the two tenders were scored against the criteria that were laid out when we went out to tender, and the Enterprise North East Trust Limited tender demonstrated a better quality application against the scoring criteria.
Thanks, Yvonne. Councillor Tracy, I keep calling you Councillor. Tracy, if you've got any more questions for Yvonne after, you can just get in touch. I'm sure she'll be happy to answer those for you. Councillor Hume, are you coming in with a supplementary to Tracy's question? Councillor Carragher's question?
No, it was supplementary to my original one.
Okay, I'll let you in now and then I'll let in Councillor Lennon.
All right, sorry. Just the premises, will the business be conducted from the same premises?
Councillor Hume, I don't know where it will be delivered from, but what I can confirm is that Enterprise North East Trust Limited have committed to having a premise both in North Lanarkshire and in South Lanarkshire.
Thanks, Yvonne. Councillor Lennon, thanks for waiting. I think you've got a question.
Thanks very much, Chair. Yeah, my question's in relation to, are there any redundancies noted in this transfer over? And if it's a case that any existing staff, will they be two-paid in the process?
Councillor Lennon, yes, 2P will apply to the existing employees.
Supplementary, Chair, in relation to the first question asked, is there any noted redundancies in this process?
Not that we're aware of, Councillor Lennon, but that will all be subject to the 2P process.
Thank you, Chair.
You're on mute, Councillor Carson.
Thanks, Andrew. Right, that's all the questions that I've got in the chat bar. So if we're all happy to approve that, we'll move on to the next item. Perfect. Okay, Andrew, will you let Alan back in, please?
That's those members, they're all back in now, Councillor Carson.
Thanks, Andrew. Alan, I'm passing back to you, if you're about. Okay, he doesn't seem to be there, unless I'm missing something. So we'll just move on to agenda item 7, which is just for noting, unless anyone has any questions.
Councillor Carson, I sent an email out to all members this morning just to advise that the report that was included in the pack of papers was the incorrect version and a revised version was sent out this morning.
Oh, okay, sorry, I've missed that. Councillor Damaso doesn't have any sound. I don't really know if there's anything. Has everyone got the revised version of the report? And do they have any questions? No? I think it's all went a bit downhill at the end of this meeting, guys. And Councillor Damaso has no sound. But if we're all happy, I think that's the committee concluded.
Convener,
came in with a last minute there.
Sorry, Andrew, the 3 contracts in the original report, were they from a previous report, or not for this one, but for a future one, or where did they come from?
They're not for this committee at all. They're for a completely different committee.
That's absolutely fine. Thanks.
Thanks, Andrew. Councillor Lennon?
Chair, sorry, I'm trying to work my papers off of this computer, but I'm having a slow signal at the moment. Is this the agenda item in relation to Glenboyd Link Road, or are we still to come to that?
We're still on item 7, Councillor Lennon. The Glenboyd Link Road item is next and will be subject to exclusion.
It's just because Councillor Carson says that was coming to the end of the committee, so I was wondering if it was a case that it was missed. That's fine, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Lane, that's my fault. I hadn't read to the end of my paper. Right, so we're on agenda item 7. Has anyone got any more questions or comments? No. Okay, we're moving on to agenda item 8 now. You need to turn off the recording, Andrew?
I'm just going to stop the live streaming.